Well, I think Andrew Wilson is a very smart man, and I enjoy listening to his debates. One bone to pick with him is his treatment of women who are born again. In my experience, it sort of seems like you are extra harsh on them, and what I would think is that if you wanted the world to be less degenerate, that you would sort of welcome people wanting to change their ways. So I'm just curious what your motive is in being so harsh, and I'd love to hear about it.
Andrew, before you answer, can you just, for the panel and then for the viewers,
for your OCD, yes, right here. I'm framed up.
No, that's not. Can you just give a rundown? So your denomination of Christianity?
Yeah, I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian. I'm not a Protestant. I'm happy to get into this, though, right? Because I think that that's a seemingly fair criticism on its face. But as you've seen can we agree on a couple of things first, though? You've seen from tonight's panel, I basically only give out the same energy that I get. Is that a fair thing to say?
You'd have to elaborate on that more.
Meaning, unless you're being particularly hostile towards me, I'm not particularly hostile towards you.
I don't actually agree with that. I mean,
have I been particularly hostile with you?
Not with me, but I think that I've noticed you being particularly hostile to this woman, and I've noticed you being particularly hostile.
How was I hostile with her? I thought that we had a good back and forth engagement.
I think that once you make your point, you keep going.
Hang on. Let me finish. I treat her exactly how I would treat any man who was sitting where she was, who had a contrary opinion to my own.
Sure.
Did I treat her differently than that?
No.
Okay, so then by your logic then, it's not just born again women who I would be brutal with in a debate, but also men, correct?
True.
Yeah, so I'm just going to treat both exactly the same.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go ahead with the rest of your criticism. Just want to make sure we get this squared out.
What I'm curious about is your intention when you come on and you, what is wrong with a woman deciding that what she was doing was wrong and she wants to change her ways? I haven't heard it on this panel tonight, but in a lot of the whatever podcasts, that's what I hear. There were a couple girls sitting here, and I don't know what's wrong with them deciding that they don't want to do what they're doing anymore. And I don't know what kind of resume you have to have for you to not mock
Nothing's
them.
wrong with that.
Then why are you still mocking them?
Okay, so I need you to try to separate two different things going on.
Okay.
So I believe that culture is downwind of theology and politics is downwind of culture. So I think that politics is informed by the culture and the culture is informed by theology. So imagine, to my chagrin, if you have women who will take Christianity and up and twist it all up and mess it all up in order to appeal to other women and give them incorrect theology, and then preach that incorrect theology. And so we end up tangling in a theological debate where they say all sorts of crazy shit, like this, for instance. Yes, it's okay if you play with tarot cards and you're a Christian. Or, alternatively, yes, it's okay to be a magic user and a Christian. Or, alternatively, yes, there's no, you were a prostitute, but that's very similar to people smoking cigarettes. You can imagine my chagrin hearing that from these women, because it seems like they're trying to placate other women into bringing them into a false faith, which I think apostatizing is worse than anything else. So I think coming into false Christianity is almost as bad as the degeneracy itself.
Okay, that's a great answer. What I would say back to you is that the way that you argue, it doesn't seem like you have a lot of love. It doesn't seem like it's coming from love. There was one woman...
Not coming from love. It's coming from logic. I don't make argumentations based on my emotions.
But Christ's law is in love. I mean, is man for law or is law for man? There was one woman who was here, and she turned around. Will you let me finish, please? She turned around and said that she didn't want to do her old ways anymore. She had already come so far. She had a husband, she had a ministry, and you were on here like getting on her about
Did you say she had
law.
a ministry?
Yeah, and that's
Did
what you were getting
hang
on
I just
her
want to
about.
be sure I'm clear.
That's
Did
what you
say
were
she
getting
had a
on her
ministry?
about.
Hang on, stop. My turn now. Did you say she had a ministry?
Of women.
Yeah, are women allowed to have ministries?
That's what you say, but I don't agree with that.
Right, you don't agree with that. You're preaching a false doctrine. You want women to be clergy. You
I
want
think
women
that
to be
you
women
not-
inside of a. Hang on, let me finish.
I'd
Inside
like
of a
to have a word.
patriarchal. Okay, you tell me when I'm allowed to respond to your points. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that when you preach out of this like intent to mock women, I mean your base is men. Like I feel like when you come on these things, I mean correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like your intent is to mock women for these comments. And I don't see how that is helping the world be better. I understand what you're saying, that you don't want women with a false doctrine, but at the same time, it just seems like it's not coming from love, that you are like, women want to turn away from or turn away from like what they've been doing, and you are like berating them, you're criticizing them, you're making it like you're embarrassing them and making it hard for other women who are maybe viewing this to turn their own ways. And to me, that's making degeneracy grow. Like you are enabling this hate women sort of mentality, in my opinion. That's how it comes off to a woman watching the show. It's like you are not able to turn away from what you want to turn from.
Can I add to that? And I don't want to like be judgmental.
No, you can't add to that because we're in the middle of having a conversation, and then you can add to it. So am I allowed to respond to these points now? Now, can you admit that I did not interrupt you at all while you were going through that? Great. So let's go through it one at a time. One, that's just tone policing. You never made a single argument. Why do I want people to come into a false faith? Why do I want that? That's bad. Not only that, but let us assume for a second that you don't know my end of it, how many people reach out to me after these shows who are women who say, thank you for challenging my worldview. I never thought of things like that at all. Or I know I got demolished, or how many hundreds of women send me DMs outside of this show who say it's due to your argumentation, your logical argumentation, that I came over to this. You're making arguments which are appealing to emotion. You're saying emotionally, when I hear what you say, it emotionally makes me feel bad. Well, that's great, but I need you to understand that I don't give a shit how it makes you feel. What I care about is what is logically true and consistent, and what I care about is the arguments. You might say, so for instance, imagine this. You would agree with me that there's going to be a lot more Christians if we include homosexuals into Christianity, right?
I don't know. I wasn't brought up in church. I don't know.
Okay, but you would agree that if you had a church which barred homosexuals and then the church allowed homosexuals in, that you would have a lot more.
Andrew, avoid that topic if you can.
Okay.
Could I respond to what you said?
If it was people of the same sex, if you let more of them in, right, you would agree that you would have a much larger congregation, right? But you can't allow people to defeat what the purpose of the religion is because they choose not to wake up one day and go, I'm not going to be a prostitute anymore. And then I need you to respond to my last point, and this is the one that I really want you to focus on. There's a lot of women who utilize Christianity and the faith of Christianity to hide behind, and they become reformed not because they have found Christ at all, but because they use Christianity as a shield from criticism. And that, I believe, is where most of the tone policing from women comes from. That you're utilizing tone policing to say, no, you're not allowed to criticize me now because I've turned away from my degenerate ways. No, that's not the purpose of Christianity either, is that now suddenly you're above criticism. That's not how that works.